Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Future of SaaS Festival. My name is Christine McCone, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I'm a Senior Customer Success Manager at Slack. It's truly my pleasure to get the chance to speak with you all today, and I hope that you've been learning as much as I have from all of the wonderful speakers at this event. So today I plan on covering how customer success has changed since the shift to remote work. And I'm sure, as many of you have guessed, I am streaming live from my home office here in San Francisco. So, as a result of this shift to remote work, I have a new office and some new coworkers. It's been 8 months now since I've stepped foot in Slack headquarters, and I miss my colleagues, but I've picked up a couple new ones. My daughter Sophia, who's 6, and my son Aiden, who's 4. And they really keep me on my toes while also being two of the best lunch companions. So, just fair warning, they may stop by today for a brief cameo, or maybe the cats or a delivery person. You're going to probably hear my doorbell or my phone ringing. You'll probably hear Disney's Frozen, Let It Go playing in the background. Or maybe you'll see me flash on and off video while I manage a crisis off camera with my two little coworkers. This is remote work during a pandemic. And before joining Slack, I occasionally worked from home. And I also worked really hard at not giving the appearance of working from home. And if you've ever worked from home before shelter in place, I'm sure you can relate. But times, they're a bit different now. We're not only working from home, but we're doing so while simultaneously being caretakers or parents or fur parents or school teachers, or while being completely isolated or a combination thereof. And yeah, we're doing this in the midst of a worldwide pandemic. So, how do we navigate this new norm? How do we manage the realities of our world while also being successful in our day to day working lives? It's empathy. I mean, how can we really help our customers if we don't feel with them? So, starting off after shelter in place, I'll give you a little timeline here. The first couple of days weren't too disruptive. And by couple, I mean the first two. This was day 3. But during those early days, we updated our in person meetings to video. We really stuck to the agenda and had our best work from home faces on. But as the days wore on and the return to work date kept getting pushed out further and further and further for all of us, how we were communicating, or maybe how we weren't communicating, needed to adapt to our new realities. I mean, we were scared and nervous, and we were experiencing a lot of uncertainties. And a lot of us had children at home. And at one point, I was taking calls from the car just to avoid background noise, and nobody was talking about it. So, a couple of days after this picture was taken, we had a company all hands meeting. And it was a pivotal moment for me that occurred while attending this meeting. Our chief marketing officer, Julie Legal, was speaking when all of a sudden her 2 daughters climbed in her lap, and she just kept right on and didn't skip a beat. And it was exactly what I needed to see. And you could almost hear this collective sigh of relief from all the parents in the meeting. I mean, this was our reality, live and on camera, front and center for the whole company to see. So then I began to embrace it. I tore down the facade of a traditional work environment, the one that I constructed for the perceived benefit of my customers and colleagues. You can see here the next day, I usually kept my bedroom door shut. And in this instance, my son busted through the door and jumped on the bed and climbed on my shoulders. And one of my colleagues captured that moment. And I'm really glad that he did, because it truly encompasses what those early days were like. And it's funny looking back on it now. So after this kind of epiphany and tearing down this facade and realizing that we should talk about this, I would start all my calls with, how are you doing? And at first, maybe on the other side of the line, there was some hesitation. But if they asked me, I'd respond honestly, it's a circus here. I just had to cut slime out of my cat's fur before this call because my son thought the cat needed a slime bath. And my daughter wouldn't attend class today until she was dressed up as Wednesday Addams. And I'm wearing pale powder right now and all black because she demanded that I dress up as Morticia. Other than that, not too bad. So just talking honestly and open about our situation just really paved a path for us to start being a little bit more empathetic and transparent with one another. So as I exposed my vulnerability, like I said, they would too. And I wasn't asking how they were doing just for the sake of asking either. I truly wanted to know how they were doing. I not only care about my customers' success with Slack, but I really care about them as people too. And it seemed just completely disingenuous to avoid the elephant in the room. So, exposing my reality to customers and colleagues ultimately made us closer. I mean, we laugh together, we worry together, we commiserate together. And at the end of the day, we work hard for one another. And they know they can trust me because what you see is what you get. And once you build that kind of trust, your relationship can only strengthen and become more transparent. So, what is the shift to remote work? It's don't worry about it. I got it covered. Let's sync up when you get back, or I'll be running 5 minutes late while I get my son logged into his class. Or sometimes it's just words of encouragement. You're doing great. This is a tough time for everyone. Or that's okay. Just message me later when you're free. But okay, let's face it. Sometimes it's a bit of this. It's occasionally covering your mouth while on mute to let your son know and not your coworkers know where the Lightning McQueen toy from Cars 1, not Cars 3 is, or to remind your daughter that it's time to log in to her learning A to Z activities in her Seesaw app, all while trying to be an active participant on that call. It is what it is. I mean, we have new distractions. When we were in the office, it may have been someone coming up to our desk or maybe office visitors on a tour, a fire alarm, or an overwhelming need to hunt down some Sour Patch Kids in the cafe. So they're a little different now, and that's okay. Okay, it's not exactly fine. But after that facade that I was talking about was tore down, I dove right into authentically sharing with my customers what we started to do internally to overcome some of the hurdles of remote work. And by breaching that topic early on, that everything is not fine, this conversation came naturally and was an authentic and compassionate outreach to see what Slack could do to help them navigate their new work environment. And internally, my colleagues and I were swapping stories in Slack to understand what was top of mind for our customers. And we then created assets and provided recommendations to accommodate these new customer priorities. A lot of what we heard at the beginning was, how do we keep our employees engaged and happy during shelter in place? How do we replace water cooler discussions? And how do we ensure that employees are getting the support that they need? To just how do we move meetings to Slack and how do we keep working? So we created a lot of assets to cover these topics. We've created webinars as well. We created initially one-page documents that covered topics such as how to get informed, how to get help, do work, take a break, how to get notified, and how to automate in Slack. And made them really short and sweet, just to make them easy to digest, given all the issues at hand at that particular moment. I mean, we were all trying to just stay focused. So we wanted them to be really easy and simple lifts for our customers. And then we provided remote best practices in Slack and expanded those learnings as mentioned to include webinars that focused on remote work. We also held office hours with our customer experience team. And during this time, we also had quite a few new customers logging into Slack for the first time. So we created some quick launch playbooks to get them up and running as fast as possible. And in one case, we were able to bring on 100,000 new Slack users in 72 hours, just for one customer. So in this deck, I've linked out to all of these materials. So if you do happen to use Slack and you want to get some intel on how you can use Slack during your remote work, check them out. So not only would I share these assets with my customers, I was sharing everything that we were doing internally at Slack surrounding remote work in real time. So we had spun up quite a few channels during this period. We had a remote best practices, a tales from work from home, where we could post photos of how we were working from home, our setups. We had Zoom backgrounds, which was kind of fun. We had remote work updates, so our leadership team could keep us informed of what was happening, when we would be able to pick up things from the office. One that I recently found was work from home fashion, which was kind of funny. And then social yelling, which is just a fun place to talk about our woes of the day in all caps. So to keep up with team camaraderie, we also held themed team meetings that we recommended to our customers too. So Tiger King was really popular around this time. So there were lots of tiger print in these videos. And I would also recommend apps in our directory that could help bridge that virtual divide. So anything from digital whiteboarding apps to social apps that could serve as substitutes for those water cooler discussions we all miss so much. If you can think of it, there's most certainly an app for it. And then we also created a few feature updates aimed to delight our customers, including our remote emoji pack that visually encompasses our new reality. So I use the cat walking on the laptop emoji quite a bit, and the kid emoji has come in handy a few times in my status. We also created workflow builder templates that focused on keeping teams productive and connected by automating processes like daily huddles and request approvals and more. If you've not used Workflow Builder, unfamiliar with it, definitely check it out. It's linked in this presentation as well. And then we also had to move quite a number of our events to virtual. And so we used our experience of taking our big global sales event that was originally scheduled in March 13th, fully virtual. We shared that with our customers that were thinking about canceling in-person events. So we have a whole methodology now around hosting virtual events in Slack. And the team that was able to put this together was able to do so in 10 days. So moving it from Arizona to virtual. And there's also a blog post that talks about how we were able to accomplish this. So check it out. The one sad thing is we can't show up to customer visits with those Slack socks that everyone loves so much. But what we do have now is a redemption code or redemption codes that we can share virtually with our customers so they can still keep their toes warm by having them delivered directly to their home offices. We've also learned a bunch of innovative Slack solutions that our customers have developed. My favorite so far has been a virtual story time that one of my customers hosts for their employees' children. Executives all the way up to the CEO read stories to the kids, and they make sure that the sessions are offered across different time zones and age groups, and they arrange all of these sessions and organize them in Slack. So here we are, 8.5 months later. So what do we do now? Embrace our new roles. My recommendation is embrace these challenges, put them on display. At the end of the day, we're all humans, and what better way to spend your working day than by being your authentic selves and by forging long-lasting friendships and partnerships with your customers and colleagues. So as a stay-at-home, full-time CSM remote teacher's aide mama, being home with my babies is by far one of the best parts of my day too. And here, if you ever choose to check out my LinkedIn profile, I definitely updated to include a role, remote kindergarten teacher, but just about a month ago, I downgraded myself to a teacher's aide because I have a lot of late homework assignments getting turned in. So I would say, if you haven't done so in a while, I encourage you just to take a moment to check in with your customers. I'm sure it'll brighten their day. Oh, and one more thing. I totally lied when I said I was live streaming this. I mentioned that I have a 4-year-old and 6-year-old running feral in the house. So I opted to pre-record this segment for that reason. But now we'll be opening up for a live Q&A, and my coworkers and I will see you in just a few. Thanks, everyone.
Looks like I'm in. Okay, great. Thanks, Carla. So I'm looking at some of the questions that are coming through in the chat. So I would say that the first one was from Shauna. Do I think it's going to be hard to maintain this vulnerability? I don't think so. I think as customer success managers that we are always empathetic to our customers' needs. I mean, we need to learn from them and build that relationship and that trust and empathize with some of the struggles that they're experiencing with using our products. So I think that empathy will definitely always be there. Vulnerability, yeah, I don't know about vulnerability. I mean, I think now it's when you have your, children running in the background, that won't take place when we go back to remote work. So I don't know if that exposure of our personal lives will be there, and the aspect of being vulnerable may not be as prevalent as it is now. Let's see what else. Sam, you had a question on getting buy-in from senior leadership on flexible remote working. I don't have any words of wisdom to add there, but if you haven't seen the Future Forum that Slack is part of now, definitely check that out, and I'll include the link afterwards as well. But that's the whole forum now that's discussing the future of work. And remote team building activities. This one came in from Melissa. So yeah, Melissa, actually, I was thinking this past weekend that there's the holiday gift exchange that normally everyone does every year around this time. And I thought, like, how are we going to manage to do that this year with the shift to remote work? So what I did was I created a workflow in Slack where folks could sign up, and then they would provide their mailing address, and then the recipient, whoever they send it to, we've got a little acronym that they're going to put in lieu of the first name so that folks know when the package arrives that it's coming from their Secret Santa. And then we're planning on doing a webinar where we open up the gifts. So I think it's little activities like that that really help kind of keep the team cohesion together during this remote time. Let's see. Nora, any advice for someone starting a new job in a remote environment? Definitely reach out to your colleagues and set up some coffee time. I was fortunate enough when I started Slack, I was able to be in the office for about 4 months before we did the shift to remote work. And so I was able to build up some relationships and friendships with some colleagues. But I do have a number of colleagues now that have started completely remote. And I met them through these coffee sessions. And there's one of my colleagues who I just feel like we have worked in the office together because we were able to build up that relationship in we do have like monthly syncs. So have those. You don't have to, I mean, in our case, about 70% is focused on work and where I could provide some mentorship, but then the other 30% is just catching up and having those discussions that you normally would have as you're walking to a meeting or going out for lunch. So connect with your colleagues. Let's see. Mora, what has been the greatest newly discovered virtue or asset of interacting with your customers while working remotely? I think the relationship has just gotten so strong. That's probably been the best part of all of this, is that in the past, I may have worked with folks who I didn't know, even if they had children, or if or what their homes looked like. And now it's, if you're working or talking to somebody in their home office, you might see like a movie poster or a sports team flag in the background, and that can spark a conversation. And so that's been wonderful. And there's one of my customers who I've never had the chance to meet in person. We've really just established our relationship remotely, and she happens to be in Seattle, and my sister lives up there. So last time I went to Seattle a couple weeks back, we made it a point to finally meet in person, just to have a little breakfast. And when I met her, it felt like we had just known each other for ages. I mean, we got along like two best friends from college. It was amazing. And I think it's just because that closeness that we were able to forge during this remote time paved the way for that relationship. These are all really great questions. Let me see if I've gotten all of them. Oh, Elizabeth, you love the socks? Find me on LinkedIn and I'll make sure you get a pair. Okay, let's see. I think I got all of them. Well, if you are interested in learning more about my remote work experience or any tips and tricks that I can offer you, if you are using Slack, then feel free to reach me on LinkedIn, just at Christine McCone. And thank you all so much for attending today. And I hope you have a great time at the festival. Take care.